There's two things I try to aim for when reviewing retro games. How did I feel back then, and how do I feel now? That becomes a lot more difficult when you have no history with the game and a very strange history with the system it sprang from. The Amiga was a posh kid's computer where I grew up. Matter of fact, there was in fact only one kid I knew with an Amiga. He was posh. I think that's how the rumours started. This kid had everything. He owned a barcode battler. He owned a Lynx. He had expensive water guns with branding on the side instead of the shitty plastic ones everyone else had. The ones that ended up leaking everywhere after 10 seconds of use. Of all the things he owned, the Amiga was the thing I coveted more than anything else. To compare the Amiga with the ZX Spectrum I had was like comparing real life to science fiction. It was a step through the rainbow into a world that I didn't even know existed in the home market. And I'd never get to experience it properly because only posh kids had an Amiga. And I was having to wear my dad's oversized denim jacket to school because I couldn't afford to buy me another one. I didn't hang out with Posh Kid an awful lot, and because he was rich, he didn't let me touch any of his nice things because I'd probably have just gotten coal dust on them or something. No, I just had to sit there and watch. But I was impressed all the same. The graphics, the music, the endless opportunities that a machine like this could offer. It was unfathomable. Fast forward to today, and it's very difficult to find anything on the Amiga that I actually want to play, because the vast majority of the big hitters ended up coming out on other systems that I eventually did have access to. Speedball 2, The Secret of Monkey Island, Cannon Fodder, Another World, Lemmings, all absolute classics, and all of them I experienced on different machines, oftentimes enhanced from the Amiga original. On the flip side, finally being able to get my hands on Shadow of the Beast, the most impressive thing I'd ever seen at a young age, and realising I'd rather piss on a pylon than ever play the thing again, didn't leave me with a great sense of nostalgia when it came to the Amiga. Now, one of the things that the rich kid liked to shove down everyone's throat whenever we were in the playground was how good the Bitmap brothers were. Xenon, Speedball, Speedball 2, Gods, the Chaos Engine. He would describe all these games to everyone. Sometimes he would even deem me worthy of seeing them in action, but very rarely would he let me actually play the damn things. The one he did let me play, because he wanted to play 2 players so he could kick my ass without telling me any of the controls, was Speedball 2. And that game absolutely blew me away. The Bitmap brothers, I thought to myself, these guys know what's what. I have never once enjoyed a Bitmap brothers game ever since. I hate Gods. I hate the Chaos Engine, everything I've tried by them. The gameplay just does not gel with me at all. Graphically impressive for the time? Yes, and they sound great, but I've never understood what anyone sees in them outside of that. Style over substance, that's how I came to know them. So here we are, today, and a patron asks me to review a game by the Bitmap brothers on the Amiga. 2 things I've already got a weird history with, and before I even load up the game, I have to wipe away any prejudice I already have. This is going to be fine. This will be fun. I'll enjoy this. I hate it so much. Xenon 2, in the cold, uncaring light of today, is shovelware. It looks fine, it sounds good, I like this guy, but the actual gameplay could not be further removed from what I consider fun. It is slow, it is unfair, it doesn't quite work properly, the level design is equal parts boring and purposefully annoying, it's based on trial and error, and I hate it. I hate it with all of my being, and every time I pick it up and play it, I lose 6 minutes of my lifespan. It is fundamentally broken as far as game design goes. Everything is wrong with it. Everything! You wouldn't think so, however, when stepping into the shoes of journalists back in 1989, Andy Smith of Amiga Format gave the game 93%, with one of the categories for scoring being intellect, which is weird. But anyway.
The age-old problem. It's just another shoot 'em up, some would say, and there are plenty of them around already. So what makes this stand out? The gameplay. It's fast, furious, addictive, tough, playable, and it sounds and looks fantastic. Xenon 2 has everything a shoot 'em up needs, and more besides, making it arguably the best of its type to appear to date, and a definite must purchase for anyone who doesn't mind wasting the odd hour or two enjoying some mindless blasting.
Mike Pattenden of CU Amiga gave the game 88%, and even though he clearly loved the game, it was pretty clear that they were forcing themselves to look past the shortcomings.
There are faults to be found with Xenon 2. The necessity to have so much going on at one time means the game is slow. The scroll rate is just not fast enough, and it can induce an element of tedium into the game. Also, despite its impressive graphics and sound, challenge somehow just isn't strong enough. Lack of variation might be the cause.
Zero Magazine, 93%. Zap Magazine, 97%. Amiga Computing Magazine gave the game 100%. That's all the percentages, with the strangest review of a game I've ever read in my life. We'll come back to that. And oh, what's this? Amiga Format reviewed the game again.
When it came out, this Bitmap Brothers up-the-screen shoot-em-up was very highly rated for its detailed graphics, action-packed gameplay, neat power-ups and innovative pop-star tie-in soundtrack. Now, the graphics look dull, and the gameplay revealed as being too enemy-heavy, with massive power-ups trying to balance play in which too little strategy and skill is required. It's been well superseded by a host of subsequent shoot-em-up releases, but set a few standards in its day. Only the soundtrack remains innovative, using the CD's sound storage capability to add a high-fidelity Bomb the Bass remix track, that old Assault on Precinct 13 Mega Blast, put together in Roland's innovative 3D sound. Best bought by Bomb the Bass completists. Yes, you can play CD Amiga soundtracks in a hi-fi CD player, rather than buy game players. It's well past its sell-by date.
Three years it took. 3 years to go from 93% to 32%. I'd like to call this Xenon 2 whiplash, but Xenon 2 is so slow you probably just get a mild knee scrape instead. Granted, that's only one change of opinion, and it's pretty clear just by looking at the comments on other videos for Xenon 2 that the game still has an audience. It still has a lot of love even in the modern day. So I did a little digging. First up, Chris Cain, one of the writers from PCW magazine, got in touch to say he reviewed the game back when it first came out. I asked him, from his own memories, what he remembers of the game at the time.
If I remember correctly, the first thing that struck me about the game was the music. The Amiga was well known for having a great sound chip, and Xenon 2 really made full use of its features. The use of samples from an actual band like Bomb the Bass was pretty revolutionary at the time. The game was also very different from the original Xenon, which felt quite clunky, especially on the Atari ST. Boo. Xenon 2 was silky smooth, and the graphics had an organic feel similar to arcade favourites at the time, like Konami's Nemesis and Salamander. The game really did deliver that arcade shoot-em-up experience at home. Of course, we had previously seen similar titles on the Amiga, like Blood Money and Menace, but X2 will always be special to many Amiga gamers.
On the flip side,
when I was a kid, I had a cracked version of Xenon 2 on the Atari ST, and of course, as crackers were wont to do back in the day, they'd added all their own sort of text and stuff on top of the intro and their own shout-outs and greets and things. And one thing that's always stuck with me is that when it got through to the end of that intro loop, obviously the Xenon 2 Mega Blast logo came up, and underneath where it said Mega Blast, they'd added Mega Hype, more like, which was obviously their way of having a little pop at the Bitmap Brothers for how much they'd hyped up the game prior to its release. But as far as interesting anecdotes go, that's all I've got, because I just didn't really play the game all that much. I used to fire it up to listen to the intro on my little 14-inch portable TV in my bedroom, but as far as playing the game was concerned, I'd get past the first level or so, and then it was just quite repetitive and slow, and even as a kid, there were just other things that I'd rather be doing.
Okay, let's revert back to my original thought process, alright? I certainly don't like it now, but how would I have felt if I'd have played it back in the day? And then I picture myself sat in that posh little dickhead's room, watching him play the game and gloating about how great it is. And I simply don't know. My impressions of Amiga games were always through that one kid, and that one kid said that everything was great. And on the face of it, yes, They were great, just look at them. Music, graphics, colours that didn't smudge together. But would I have hated the game as a kid if I'd actually played it? Probably? Probably not. So I arrive at a quandary because my usual tactics for reviewing games has ground to a complete halt. This game is, as far as I'm aware, a cult classic. It's a Bitmap Brothers game, and Amiga people love Bitmap Brothers. That's what the posh kids said, so it's definitely true. I decided to go out to the public at large and do some further investigation. I need your opinions, folk. Xenon 2 on the Amiga. Did you own it? Did you love it? What were your thoughts then and now? I'm gathering data like a scientist, I am, said I, and what came next was the strangest collection of tweets I've ever seen about one specific game. At a glance, here's what I learned. Number 1. Everyone who owned Xenon 2 thought it was the best thing ever made. Number 2. Everyone who owned Xenon 2 hated it more than they've hated anything else in their entire lives. Over 100 comments, 200 likes, and 20 retweets, which I know isn't the largest amount of interactions in the world, but that's more than what Paul Chuckle got when he uploaded a video of him playing fetch with his dog, so I think we can all agree it was an issue that everyone wanted to be a part of. I mean, that's just bloody adorable. How would I delve into all this commentary, though? With science. Firstly, I divided it up into 5 categories. Those who used to like it but don't now, those who hated everything about it, those who loved it, and those who mostly just talked about the presentation and barely said anything about the gameplay. There was also another category of folk who didn't grow up with the game but thought it was shit, but let's ignore them for now. I say now, they never come back up again. With that out of the way, the interesting thing to note here is that those who said they loved it and explained why was almost the same as the number of people who said nothing other than the graphics and/or music were great. So I donned my scientist's beret and I dug in further. Ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourself for some extremely accurate science as we put all of these comments through the incredibly complicated machine known as an Excel spreadsheet. So, using what I call the Dave method, I read through every single tweet and provided a negative or positive point for everything people said about a particular subject. Here's one tweet, and here's the score that tweet ended up with, as an example, across the categories of gameplay, graphics, music, difficulty, performance, and, of course, the Shopman.
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit.
And so now, thanks to my ingenious scoring device, we have a much clearer picture of what people actually think about Xenon 2. For the people who used to like the game, but now don't, the gameplay was clearly the thing that they used to like, but also ended up being the thing that turned them off when they returned to it, coupled with the shite performance. For the people who didn't like the game at all, they were exceptionally, and I mean exceptionally, positive about the graphics and the music, but the gameplay and the performance completely destroyed any enjoyment they got from the game. For those people who mostly focused on the game's presentation initially, it's interesting to see that the thing they mostly liked was the soundtrack. Barely anyone mentioned the gameplay, and in actual fact, those who did mention the gameplay ended up hating it anyway. For those who loved the game back in the day and still love it now, it's pretty clear that the gameplay is the thing that they still love, with the music taking a big chunk alongside it. On the negative side, there was so little in amongst what they'd said that it's pointless even going over the data. So that's everyone in their own individual groups, but let's smash that information together. Every single positive and every single negative opinion combined. On the positive side, the top 3 categories are music, then gameplay, then graphics. On the negative side, the top 3 issues are the gameplay, then the performance, then the difficulty. Turning all of these positive and negative points into a final score, we end up with this. Gameplay in the negative, difficulty in the negative, performance in the negative. Graphics and music way out in the lead as being the main thing that everyone likes about this game. But that's not why people like this game. There was one category that didn't get a single negative vote. The Shopman. The Shopman is unanimously good. And it dawns on me that the Shopman is the perfect place to be in Xenon 2, because you get the graphics at their best, you get the music uninterrupted by your stupid spaceship gun, and you don't have to play anything. You can just sit there and look at it and listen to it. And that seems to be Xenon 2 at its best. I mean, I hate the game. And even I, like Shopman, looking at all of this over and over and over again has led me to believe that it doesn't even really matter what I think. I mean, it never really matters what I think. Who am I? But in terms of how I typically recommend games, the answer just doesn't matter. Everything that Xenon 2 did, or does, has been bettered 1,000 times since. It was bettered so quickly, in fact, that they had to invent a score higher than 100% a few issues later because they realised they'd made an incredible mistake. But for a large majority of the people who were there to experience it in 1989, it just doesn't matter. It's their place in history, and I'd be completely wrong to deny that. I used to be jealous of Posh Kid, and then when I got my hands on those things I was jealous of, I presumed he'd just been hyping this shit up because he wanted to make me jealous. But it's dawned on me, looking over the comments left behind on this Paul Chuckle-beating tweet, he probably did think those games were incredible. He wasn't just trying to make me jealous, he was genuinely blown away by what he was playing. The cutting edge of technology at the time. So, Xenon 2, it's pretty much impossible for me to review, at least using the methods that I normally do. I think it's quite possibly one of the worst things I've ever experienced, but the point at which I experienced it is the issue. And even if I had experienced it at the time, there's almost no guarantee that I'd have been so blinded by the presentation that I wouldn't have picked up on the multitudes of glaringly obvious flaws. That's as far as Dave Science can take us on this one. I tried and I failed to bring you a review of Xenon 2. I hate it. I hate it with every single hate gland I own. Strip away the presentation and you have a game that is frustrating, slow, boring, unfair. Every negative I can think of, I can throw at this game. And all the while, 50% of you will nod in agreement, and 50% of you will shake your head because you've already gone through this process. You already know how you feel. And for those who haven't experienced the game yet, those who are waiting for some sort of review to say whether or not you should play it, no, don't play it. Do not approach. Bad game ahead. If I had the budget to do some more science, then I highly suspect if I gathered together 100 people who had never played the game and got them all to play it for the first time, roughly 10% would walk away saying they quite enjoyed it, the other 40% would say they really liked the sound and the graphics but didn't think the game was up to much, and the final 50% would walk away saying, you know what, I absolutely hated that game, but that shopkeeper was pretty damn cool. So, remember that Amiga format review? Not Amiga format. Amiga computing. Remember that Amiga computing review? I thought, you know what, the only way to really convey how bizarre this thing is simply by doing a dramatic reading of it. So, prepare yourselves. Listen here, puss faces. You thought you'd wipe me out 2 years ago. Don't deny it, I heard you. But while the scumbag group of soldiers that you call your army was celebrating its so-called victory, I rounded up what was left of my crack Zenite troops, slid past your unguarded ships, and flew home. Ha ha! In truth, the victory was mine. Because since that fateful day, not one moment has been wasted in rebuilding my mega fighting force. And now I'm back. Some are calling me a bad loser. I don't care. There are no prizes for coming second. This time, I will win. First place. Numero uno. There is no doubt in my diseased mind. Let there be no doubt in yours. I've planted 5 bombs through history. Yes. The very fabric of time is about to explode into a quintillion million pieces. Nothing you can do can stop it. Nothing! I'm too strong, you see. Ha ha ha! This is no playground scrap. Go home, kiddies. Shove off. You've got no chances. It's no good coming at me in that thing you call a Mega Blaster, even if you have got 5 of them. Don't waste your time. I'll blow you away. Small but perfectly formed. Ha! It's pathetic. Pah! I spit on your Mega Blaster. Pah! A great green gob. Ptooey! A great green gob. Now what you gonna do, eh? Don't bother buying equipment off Crispin the shopkeeper or selling it to him. Ha ha. Ha ha ha. He's a bigger thief than I am. Ha ha. Anyway, you've no money. To get cash, you'll have to kill my agents and pick up the scraps they let fall. No chance. They don't die easily. And they won't listen to reason. There are thousands and thousands of them. From the lowest form of life in prehistoric times through to metallic mayhem in the spaceways of centuries yet to come. There is nothing, do you hear? Nothing you can do. But what's this? How long have you been able to reverse down my screen? My espionage network didn't inform me of this. Bugger. Is that supposed to be bugger? Bugger! I know. I'll put a guardian at the end of every stage. And on the last 4 levels, I stick one halfway through as well. Haha! You'll never get through all of them. And if just one bomb is left, when the fuse runs out, kaboom! It's Kiag time. It's Kiag time. It's Kiag time. I don't give a damn if your zapper can eradicate everything on the screen as a blinding flash of light. No. What care I if your side shot causes bullets to emit from the left and right of your ship? It's very specific. Pah! I spit on your electro ball. Ha ha! Which sticks to your ship until you hold down the fire button. I play lip ball with your minds, laugh at your speed up stripes, and spit my rotting stumps of teeth at your super Nashwan power. I say pa to the lot of them. My brachiopods will wiggle down into your ears and suck out your brains. My crusty skin trilobite will shoot your paltry defences to pieces. The probing appendages of my Nautilus will launch indestructible mines into your path. The powerful radiation emitted by the time bombs has mutated these once harmless beings into crazed aggressors. They eat little boys like you for breakfast. I can't lose. You see, I'm too fast, too smooth, too evil. And this time I brought with me the most awesome army of agents the Amiga computer has ever seen, coupled with sound effects to break your eardrums. Nothing can stop me. The universe will be mine. Mine. Do you hear me? All mine. And all crammed on 2 discs with music by Bomb the Bass. 100 fucking %.